I went ahead and recreated Dua Lipa's Houdini. And in this video, I'm going to show you how I recreated it and also share with you some music production tips and techniques that you would want to use in your projects when trying to create something similar to the track that we're doing. Let's start with the drums. So I'm going to start off with a drum rack here, an Ableton Live 11, loaded with a couple of sounds to create our foreground beat. That'll be our kick, snare, clap, and shaker. Now we're going to layer that foreground beat with a drum loop with a similar type of groove. Now that layered drum loop really does add a lot more texture and presence to the overall groove. And what I want to make sure is that my kick from my drum rack gets a little bit more emphasis and spotlight. So I'm going to put an EQ and remove a lot more of that low end. Next, I'm going to go ahead and also layer this with some congas. Now, usually if I were to play a conga pattern, meaning I would go ahead and sample different types of conga hits or bongo hits, and if I try to replay that pattern by hand, it comes off a bit stiff, robotic, and not natural at all. So me personally, I always prefer using live recorded conga loops that I might find or have on my library, and then change the pattern of that loop so that it actually fits the pattern that I want, but yet I'm keeping more of that live, organic type of vibe to it. So this is what I mean. So one way I've been able to do that is I can actually take the starting point of this loop and change it. So I'll solo the conga loop. By default, this is the downbeat. This is bar 1, beat 1 right here. I'm experimenting with changing the actual start position of the loop by moving it right here. And this gives me a new beginning for the loop, and you can see it shift here in the arrangement view. So what I do is, if I'm hearing the reference and I'm noticing that a specific conga hit is in a specific point, I'll actually move the starting position of the loop till that part of the loop is where it needs to be rhythmic-wise. Now layer that with the other two parts. As opposed to having the loop start at the 1. So it's a small detail, but it goes a long way. And like I said, if I were to just chop up those conga loop parts and then actually play the pattern myself, it doesn't feel natural to me personally. So I'd rather always just kind of go with the loop. And now we have our cowbell. We gotta have more cowbell. All right, so that will make up the initial drum bus that I have. So that's the loop, the cowbell, and our foreground beat all in this drum bus, routed through glue compressor, drum bus, and a little bit of RC20 to give some texture and color and some EQing at the end. So let me just bypass these plugins. And then I'm going to also layer these drums with another track outside of that drum bus. This is an extra kick drum, and I'll sometimes do this just so I get a little bit more emphasis on the low end, add some more low end beef by creating just a simple kick track outside of that drum bus, and then balance and blend the two. So this is just another kick drum. Now, the reason why I don't have it in here in the actual drum bus itself is because it's actually going to change the way the compressor, the RC20, it changes the actual balance. So I'm going to leave it outside the group for now and just blend as much low end beef I want from the kick and the overall drum bus. Next, let's focus our attention on that really cool riff that has this sort of growl feature to it. It's like the main melodic riff that's happening in the beginning and throughout the track. Kind of gives me that Thriller type of vibe from Michael Jackson's Thriller. So for this, we have a couple different sounds layered together. And this is always a good approach. Sometimes you might need not just one sound, but a little bit of other sounds kind of melded together to get the results that you're looking for. So my brain went to, it sounds like a bass, just ran through a couple things, so I'll start there. Right, so I started with the IK Multimedia Moto Bass 2, and I have it set to the 60s P bass. So let's check out the bass part. So it sounded to me as if the notes were just switching from one octave to the other. So we have that D going octave up, down, up, down, up, down. And then I'm going to also layer that with a clavinet, just mirroring and playing the same exact part. Now, why clavinet? Well, I don't know. I love the texture that the clarinet was adding to the bass. It had a little bit more that clanky type of sound to the front end of the attack of the notes. That's what my brain was kind of thinking about. So I'm not sure if it is a clarinet or clavinet, but I loved the mechanical sound that it was doing. So I'm using clavinet 5 from Arturia here, and just kind of cycling through a couple presets, landed on Funk AD, and this is what we've got. And then I'm going ahead and layer that as well with a wavetable set to kind of get this Moog-ish type of bass from. All right, so now that we've gotten those three layers together, the processing is really going to change the way it performs. So I'm going to start with an auto filter, and I'm starting with the filter because to get that resonating wah 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 sound. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm physically like wah wah, and I go, what does that? Like, oh, filter, wah wah pedal, stuff like that. So I tried a wah wah pedal at first, and then I was like, that's not getting the results I'm looking for. But yeah, filter would do that, because that's essentially what the kind of wah wah pedal is doing. For those of you who don't know what a wah wah pedal is, for guitarists, it's an effect pedal. So I'm using the auto filter. I've got it set to a bandpass. So it's just focusing on this frequency here, and we're just dialing in a sweet spot here with the filter frequency and resonance. The trick is to actually set the LFO amount a little bit on every bar, so there's just a bit of movement. You're not staying static in that frequency range. So it's giving you a little bit of that open whoa, whoa kind of thing. I know all these sounds just sound really weird, but you get what I mean. Then I'm going to distort that signal with the pedal. And then we're going to do a little bit of EQing here. And then what really gives this nice gloss and width is the chorus effect. Now, these are all just stock plugins within Ableton Live that I'm using. So this is the stock chorus ensemble plugin. And then we're compressing it just so that I don't have any crazy jumps with the dynamics. And I'm using this plugin here called Kickstart 2 just to give a sidechain pulse throughout the whole performance. Now, really quickly, before we head on, I want to go back to the drums because there's something really important that we need to focus in on that creates this nice stereo depth with the drums. And that is adding some really quick slapback delay to these drums. So you'll notice that I have some of these drum tracks here in the drum bus running through return track A, and I have return track A muted. So let's focus on the drums now that we're sending it to a immediate slapback delay. Now, something to keep in mind here is if you notice on the right-hand side, this is highlighted in a light blue color because I've turned it from post-fader to pre-fader, meaning that the effect of this delay is going to be applied to the signal before the actual fader of Ableton Live's volume on that track. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because A, it's going to give me a more output from the effect itself. And so then I can balance the output of that by just lowering the actual volume of that track, that return track. And so I can have a better blend here of the sound. I don't want the drums to be that loud, but I would like the effect of that slapback to be a lot louder. So I can have like the congas a little low in presence, but the effect can be a lot more louder and pronounced. That's why I had this set to pre. And that slapback really adds such a significant layer of just width and atmosphere to the drums. All right, now for the bass, I'm using the Moto Bass 2 plugin again, leaving it at the 60s P bass, and just changed one thing, and that was the string type from flat wound, or actually from round wound to flat wound. I thought the texture sounded much better, and here we have the bass part. Do-do-do. Sounds like Fraggle Rock, right? Anyways, I'm really dating myself. And now for the synths, we have the Arturia Juno as the instrument. And let's take a look at the chords. And we've got the frequency just right around 629, and just brought the envelope up a little bit, just manipulating the amp envelope to get the nice release that I want. And then just giving a little bit of that sub oscillator boost right here with the noise. But the width comes from having the chorus on with this Juno. And then it's running through the Wave Factory cassette plugin just to give a little bit of texture and warmth to it. That's all we're doing with this, and I'm sending it through a reverb plugin that I have on Return Track B. This is the stock large hall reverb preset in Ableton Live. This is just going to create some ultimate depth with the whole track. Well, hey, if you're looking for professional guidance in helping you produce the music that you're creating, then I want to direct your attention over to beatacademy.com/producer. I've been spending a lot of my time investing in artists and music producers, helping them build the confidence that they need to produce the music that they are serious about creating. I do this through providing resources and courses, accountability through a community of like-minded individuals, as well as month-to-month coaching and listening sessions, and opportunities where myself and other leading industry professionals come and mentor to help you take your next step forward with accomplishing your music production goals. So if this is something that you're serious about and you're seeking professional guidance to help you get there, then visit beatacademy.com/producer. I've put together a free video series that'll help you skip years of frustration when it comes to acquiring your goals with your music. You can also click the link below in the description box or visit beatacademy.com/producer. Thanks once again for watching. Like and subscribe so YouTube can continue showing more videos that can be of benefit and help to your music production skills. Take care.